So I'm here with Diogo.
Yeah.
And he works with us at Seasoned, and we are building Flashboard, which is Postgres admin, where you can manage your Postgres database on the browser and in a much easier way than doing queries and complicated technical softwares. And one of the things that people usually ask us when we talk about Flashboard is about security. Yeah, they say, "Oh, but I'm about to put my connection string from a database in this app, and like, how can I be sure it's safe? How can I be sure that no one's going to have access to it?" And I wanted to ask Diogo about it because he worked closely in that, and also because I don't actually know. So it's going to be a nice learning about the project we're working together. And so what can you say about this?
Is that I don't think that there is one specific feature or one specific protocol that will make a software secure. It's one of those things in software development where there is absolutely no silver bullet. And I really do think that security has to be part of the culture of the development team. And it's nobody says I've implemented, let's say, quality on our software code base. So it's not something that you can implement, but it's something that you keep on your mind as you build the software. Okay, now that this is out of the way, I would say that we are trying to build this culture with Flashboard for the Flashboard development process. So security is definitely on our minds as we implement each and every feature. And for me, this is one of the main pleasures of working with this product now, and also one of the most comforting facts. I was using Flashboard. I mean, I am using Flashboard. So when I'm using Flashboard, it's one of the things that I find very comforting, right? That we are actually concerned with security. Now, there are certain things, I don't know if you want to get in more technical aspects, but there are certain things that we can use to prevent certain attacks, right? So there are certain malicious behaviors. And you opened this conversation talking about the connection string, because this was like the source of all security. Even when we started coding the product, right? I remember being very concerned and we having this conversation with the team. Okay, but then people are just going to put their connection string and we have a database full of connection strings, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't sound very good to me. So vector of attack is always the database, right? Because it's where the state of the application lives. So you have all sorts of ways to try to exfiltrate, try to get the data out of the database, be it from a leaky API or from maybe some backup that is laying around in an environment where some token was compromised. So basically, everywhere where you have a part of your database living, be it in the form of a snapshot or the live data or transaction logs, you have to not ensure, but you have to think, okay, what happens if somebody gets a hold of this data, right? And if you don't want people to just be able to see a list of your users and each and every connection string used for every single database, one of the ways to do this is to have some sort of encryption based on a secret that only the user has. Of course, there are several other ways of doing this, and we discussed several, but we ended up going down this lane. So we derive a key from the user password, and we use this key to ensure that the connection URL is encrypted from the moment that it hits our web server. So there is a moment there where this connection URL is accessible to our server and, of course, to potential attackers. But then after that, once we store it in the database, once it hits before getting to the SQL command, that is already encrypted and it's already safe.
And again, just to clarify, like you said, it is encrypted with the user's password, which also is encrypted itself, right, in our database. It's not something accessible by us or by anyone if they get hold of the database.
That's true, right? Because when you talk cryptography, sometimes it's very easy for you to just move the problem around, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you encrypt something with a password and then you store that password on a place that is accessible,
Yeah.
you just move the problem around. But you're entirely correct here. That's how we do. We derive these two keys. So from the open password, we derive one key. Actually, it's a hash, right? So we derive one hash for authentication, and we derive a different hash to use as a cryptographic key
Mm-hmm.
for the URL.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was accompanying some stuff that because I know there are always in our line of work there's always some workarounds and some ways of doing stuff that are not the best. Especially when we know that introducing something might lead to issues in other places. And I accompanied the discussion on the whole change your password thing because we realized that wait, if I'm encrypting the URL with my password, if I change my password, I lose the access there.
Exactly.
And this is at the same time that this was funny for me to hear because I was like, wait, this is good and this is bad at the same time. Because it proves the point, like it proves the point. Okay, if you lose the password, it's gone. You don't have access to this connection URL anymore. So it's not just us, bluffing. No, it's actually lost because you lost the key.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the same time, it led to very interesting discussions about how to solve this problem. And I don't think we need to get into details. It eventually got solved, and now you can change your password and you will not lose your connection URLs because stuff is going to happen magically in the backend and it's going to get updated. But it was fun to watch. This part of security was so important that we implemented something that became a roadblock for ourselves, but this was more important, like, oh no, let's take this encryption out. That's out of the question.
Yeah.
That's something not doable.
Yeah, it's interesting when you work with this sort of cryptography where the key is not available at all times, right? So you don't have like an environment variable where you can say, yeah, get this key and decrypt this data, right? So you depend on input that will be given by the user. When you work with this kind of cryptography, the data dependency to use the sensitive data becomes explicit throughout the entire model of the software. And this is very interesting because, as you said, it's very noticeable. It becomes visible in every part of the software, right? Because you know that, here you don't have that data. You just have like promise, right?
Yeah.
That data will be there once the user gives you the expected input, in this case, the password.
Well, that's interesting. I just wanted to talk a little about this, about security, and I completely understand that this is just the underlying user-facing solution. I do understand there's a lot of stuff under the hood, but I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to keep it here and just to highlight the importance of this topic for the whole team. And it's very nice to know that we are taking care of that, and we ourselves are getting caught in the same net that we built to get this kind of precaution. So yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, Diogo. Thank you very much for your time, and let's talk again soon about some other topics.
Yeah, that was very cool. Thanks.
Nice. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.